She told me to retire on the day I nearly died. Not in some metaphorical, my heart was broken kind of way. I mean, I literally choked on a dry turkey sandwich, sitting at the kitchen counter like a washed-up sitcom dad, while she stood 2 feet away, scrolling through her phone. I was gasping, flailing, my vision tunneling in, and Rebecca just watched. Not frozen, not panicked, just staring. She didn't move until I managed to slam my chest against the edge of the marble island hard enough to cough the damn thing up. Then, without lifting her eyes from the screen, she said, "You should really think about retiring. Stress is going to kill you." I still remember the flick of her thumb as she scrolled past whatever was so interesting on her screen. I remember how calm she sounded, too calm for someone who just watched her husband nearly suffocate in front of her. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't touch me. She just grabbed her keys and walked out the door. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. Rebecca had always been intense, sharp-tongued, ambitious, cold when she wanted to be, but never heartless. Not until now. And I started noticing other things I'd brushed off before. She'd started calling me old man lately. Not in a teasing, playful way, no. With venom. Like I was dead weight. She'd laugh when I couldn't open a jar or when I forgot what day the trash went out. When I made small mistakes in conversation, she'd mock me. Maybe that early Alzheimer's is kicking in, she'd say with a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. But I loved her. God help me, I loved her for nearly 24 years. I built a life around her. I let her lead because I believed she knew where we were going. And I was so wrong. 2 nights after the choking incident, I found something. I wasn't even looking. She left her laptop open in the living room, something she never does. Rebecca is obsessive about privacy. Passwords on everything, phone face down, locked drawers. But that night, she was sloppy. Or maybe she didn't care. The screen was glowing when I passed by. A tab opened on an email thread titled, Cabo. I don't know what possessed me, but I sat down. The name at the top of the email wasn't mine. It was Tyler. Tyler. The emails were full of things I hadn't heard from her in years. Can't wait to see you again. I hate pretending. He's so boring now. I could scream. Pictures. One of her in a black bikini I never saw in our home. One in bed, wrapped in gray sheets that didn't match anything we own. And then there it was, a video. I didn't watch it. I didn't have to. The next few days, I played the part. Smiled when she smiled. Nodded when she talked. Ate the kale salads she slid in front of me without asking if I wanted them. I even agreed when she said she'd handle our financial accounts so I could ease into retirement stress-free. That one hit hard. Not because I cared about the numbers, I knew how much was in there, but because of how comfortable she was taking the reins. Like she'd already rewritten the story of our marriage in her head. And I was just another tired chapter she was skipping over. She thought I was clueless. She thought I was weak. And that was exactly what I wanted her to think. Because now I had a secret. For nearly 4 years, I'd been tinkering with a project in the garage, a tool I designed out of frustration when our kitchen faucet broke and none of the repair tools I had could grip the damn joint without slipping. I'd built this thing out of scrap at first, aluminum, plastic, even a rubber grip cut from an old bike handle. It looked like junk, but it worked, better than anything I'd ever used. When I showed it to Rebecca last winter, she laughed, told me it looked like something a 5-year-old slapped together in a sandbox. She called it my man cave rattle, told me I was wasting my time and should just buy a real tool like everyone else. After that, I stopped talking to her about it altogether. I didn't need her approval. I needed proof. So I'd been quietly refining it. I used some of my bonus checks to buy better parts. I tested different materials. When I finally figured out the perfect design, I paid a patent lawyer, on my own account, under a separate LLC she didn't even know existed. I filed everything last fall, and 3 weeks before she told me to retire, I'd received a reply from a mid-sized manufacturer on the West Coast. They were very interested. But here's the thing, I hadn't signed anything yet. I'd been hesitating, maybe because I still thought there was a we. Still thought someday Rebecca would look at me like she used to, before she started treating me like furniture. That hesitation was gone now. That night, I went into the garage with a different kind of energy. Not the frustrated tinkering of a tired old man, but the quiet precision of someone planning a war. I opened up my blueprints, ran stress tests on the prototype, cleaned up the CAD files. I reached out to the manufacturer again and asked if they were still interested. They responded within 2 hours. They didn't just want to test a batch. They wanted to license the design. Exclusively. Suddenly, I was looking at numbers that made my pulse throb. 7 digits. Multiple years. Royalties. Buyout options. I wasn't retiring. I was about to begin. And she had no idea. The next morning, she was in a suspiciously good mood. Whistling, wearing lipstick before 8 a.m., and making pancakes, which she never did unless she felt guilty. She served me a stack like nothing had happened, like the betrayal I saw in those emails wasn't boiling in my brain. Then, she leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I'm so proud of you for slowing down," she said sweetly. I wanted to say, proud of me? Or relieved? Because now you've got space to spread your lies and spread your legs without worrying I'll be home at the wrong time. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her back. Soft. Loving. Like I was still the man she thought I used to be. And then I said, "You're right. I think retiring is going to be good for us." She smiled, smug, satisfied, and turned away. But in that moment, watching her back as she walked to the sink, humming a tune while pouring more orange juice, I knew one thing with crystal clarity. She was building a fantasy, and I was going to be the storm that tore it apart. All I needed was the right moment to flip the switch. I started watching her. Not in some creepy, obsessive way, no. I just stopped tuning her out. Stopped assuming things were normal just because she said they were. I started noticing her schedule, how it shifted subtly now that I was retired. How she began disappearing for longer stretches during the day, always with the same breathless excuse. Yoga ran late, or just helping Lindsay with wedding stuff again. She was always helping someone, always just a little too tired when she got home. She didn't realize it, but she was sloppy. Most liars are when they think you're not looking. One Tuesday, I waited until she left. Brunch with the girls, she claimed, wearing tight jeans and a top she hadn't touched in 3 years, and I checked her car's GPS history. Alexis has memory, even if its driver doesn't. The last 5 trips were nowhere near any brunch spot. Instead, she'd parked in the same neighborhood, twice last week, once the week before. A residential street 20 minutes away. Not a restaurant. Not a yoga studio. Just a block lined with identical beige houses and a goddamn white mailbox with a faded Tyler sticker slapped across the side. I stared at that screen for a long time. That was his house. Tyler. The man from the emails. The man who'd apparently replaced me without even bothering to hide. I felt something cold crawl through my spine. Not just rage. Humiliation. She wasn't even trying to be clever about it anymore. She'd already filed me away like an old receipt. Useless, forgotten, stuffed into some drawer while she played house with her new boy toy. And she thought I was out in the garage, building birdhouses or wasting time on crossword puzzles. I was building her reckoning. The tool, the one she'd mocked, laughed at, and dismissed, was almost ready for manufacturing. I'd had 2 late-night Zoom calls with the licensing team. I'd quietly moved money from our joint accounts into my own LLC wallet. And I bought a burner phone. That last move. Insurance. I wasn't about to go down like every other gullible husband in those pathetic cheating stories she thought she'd rewritten for us. I'd seen too many men humiliated, walked over, left with nothing but a mortgage and silence. Not me. I was collecting evidence, not to beg or fight in court, but to destroy. The next weekend, I told her I wanted to try a cooking class. "Something retired couples do," I said with a grin. She rolled her eyes but played along. I booked one downtown for a Saturday morning. She came, wore an apron with a fake smile on her face, and pretended to care about kneading dough while she texted under the table. Later, when she was in the shower, I checked her phone. I had the passcode. She still thought I didn't. I didn't have time to go through it all, but I saw the pinned conversation. Tyler Eggplant. No subtlety. No shame. He'd messaged her that morning. "Missed you last night. Can't stop thinking about your laugh." She replied with a picture. Not a nude. No, she was smarter than that. Just her lips, slightly parted, biting the tip of a strawberry. That strawberry was from our fridge. I bought it. I put the phone back and left the room. That night, I opened the burner phone and started my own game. She told me she was flying to Chicago for a wellness retreat. Said she needed space, clarity, time to reconnect with her inner self. Even had the nerve to say I was smothering her with my new free time. I smiled, nodded, helped her pack. Slipped an AirTag into the lining of her carry-on while she was in the shower. Chicago? She landed in Arizona. 2 nights in a row, she checked in at a boutique hotel near Scottsdale, same one I found in Tyler's Instagram stories from earlier that month. Yeah, turns out the man couldn't help posting a picture of his sunset views and wine nights, with some very recognizable hair in the corner of one photo. Rebecca. Her hair's always been her pride. That burnished copper tone doesn't just grow on trees. I stared at that picture for a long time, zoomed in until her laughter was practically audible. She was leaning into him like I hadn't seen her lean into me in years. Relaxed. Soft. Rebecca started leaving her laptop open more often. Not unlocked, she wasn't that careless, but visible. Just enough to send a message. That she trusted me. That she wasn't hiding anything. That the things I knew she was hiding must be products of my imagination. Subtle manipulation, gentle and steady, like a spoon stirring poison into a cup of tea. She wanted me to doubt my instincts, to doubt my sanity. But I wasn't the same man anymore. Retirement hadn't dulled me. It had focused me. I was watching everything. And one morning, when she said she'd be working from home but left for a last-minute facial at 10:45 a.m., I moved fast. Slipped into the office, opened her laptop. She'd forgotten to close her email app this time. I didn't need a password. The messages stared back at me like open wounds. Tyler, I don't like him sleeping in your bed. Rebecca, he's just there. I barely even notice him. Barely even notice me. That line sat in my chest like a shard of glass. I read it again, trying to trace the moment she stopped noticing. Was it the year I missed our anniversary because of the quarterly report? Was it when I gained weight after the surgery? Or had it always been there, just beneath the surface, waiting for her chance to leave? There were others. Tyler, any news? Rebecca, soon. He's close to signing the house over. I just have to be careful. I froze. The house. The one I bought. The one my money paid for. She was planning to get it into her name. She was laying bricks for a future I wasn't in. Every soft touch, every "you should relax more," every bowl of fruit she brought to my desk, it was all strategy. She didn't want a divorce. She wanted a quiet exit. A clean getaway. But she was underestimating me. Again. I copied the entire email chain and uploaded it to a private drive. Then I shut the laptop, cleaned every fingerprint, every sign I'd been there. When she came home smelling like eucalyptus and expensive toner, I was in the kitchen baking cookies like a sitcom dad with nothing better to do. You're in a good mood today, she said. Just enjoying the downtime, I replied. She kissed my cheek and called me sweet. That night, while she watched some trash reality show in bed, I lay on the couch with a notebook. I made 2 columns, what she thinks I know versus what I actually know. The second column was getting longer every day. And the most dangerous part? She still believed I was playing her game blindfolded. But here's the kicker. That week, I got a call. Not from the manufacturer. Not from the hardware chain. From a major investor. Someone at a venture firm had seen my prototype at a trade show. The manufacturer had taken it along for sneak peeks. They were interested. Interested enough to offer a meeting. Private jet, hotel, first class all the way. It wasn't just validation now, it was momentum. They wanted in before it exploded. But that's when something clicked. If this was going to work, really work, I had to keep everything in check. I couldn't just explode and reveal the betrayal. Not yet. If I went nuclear too soon, she'd slither out of the fallout with half my assets and a practiced cry face for the judge. No. I needed the perfect stage. And the fuse had to be lit by her. So I started feeding the fire. I told her I'd been thinking about writing a memoir. Something personal, I said. For therapy. I let her believe I was slipping into the soft fog of retirement delusion. Her eyes sparkled at that. She encouraged it. Told me it was brave. That I should express myself. Of course she liked the idea. She thought it meant I was withdrawing from reality. She thought it meant I was rolling over. She didn't know I was laying a trap, paragraph by paragraph. She didn't know that every draft, every scribbled line, every story I told about us, was evidence. And soon, it would be in front of more than just her eyes. It would be in court. in the press, in Tyler's inbox. And when the world finally saw the woman she really was, she wouldn't be able to scrub it away with all the eucalyptus in Arizona. The power outage came 2 weeks early. Not the one I planned, the real one. The storm hit on a Friday. Hard, fast, angry. Thunder cracking through the clouds like a warning shot. We lost power around 7 p.m., right in the middle of one of Rebecca's virtual wine nights with her friends. Or so she said. I knew better. I'd seen the text that afternoon. Tyler, I'll light the candles. You bring the dessert. She packed a red wine bottle, that same lacy black top she only wore when she wanted attention, and left with barely a glance in my direction. You sure you don't want to come with me? She asked, tone full of faux warmth. To your book club? I smiled. You guys hate when I show up. She chuckled and kissed my forehead like I was a grandpa with oatmeal breath. You're probably right. I watched her drive off. Waited 2 minutes. Then I opened my laptop and flipped to the power company's outage map. Nothing listed in Tyler's zip code. That was my cue. I sent the signal. A friend from my old corporate days, Leo, ran IT security for a regional energy subcontractor. And for the last 6 months, I've been helping him quietly identify infrastructure vulnerabilities as part of a consulting gig no one but he and I knew about. One of the test systems? Tyler's neighborhood. We'd mapped it in January. I knew exactly which hub controlled his block. I texted Leo one word. Now. 10 minutes later, blackout. And 2 minutes after that, my phone lit up. Rebecca. Ugh. Lost power. Not even a candle in this place. Rebecca. I'm coming home. She was pissed. Not scared. Not even suspicious. Just irritated. She'd expected wine and dessert with her boy toy, and got darkness and heat. When she walked back through the door, mascara smudged, blouse wrinkled, she didn't even try to lie. Power went out, she grumbled, tossing her heels by the door. Whole damn block. Can you believe that? I handed her a flashlight without a word. She didn't notice the way I looked at her. She never did. But I noticed everything, especially the scent of unfamiliar cologne on her neck. She went to shower, frustrated and mumbling. I sat in the dark living room with a glass of scotch, letting the silence buzz in my ears. Because what she didn't know was that while her little power trip fizzled out, mine was just getting started. That morning, I had a call with the investor, real heavy hitter, old money, Manhattan connections. He didn't ask for specs. He asked about me. Said he liked stories. Said America was starving for a comeback tale. When I mentioned the betrayal, the retirement, the invention, he leaned in. This isn't just a product, he said. This is narrative gold. He offered a media team. Branding, publicist, ghostwriter, talk shows, book tour. I almost said yes on the spot, but I told him I needed a little more time, because the story wasn't done. Not yet. The next day, Rebecca was back to her Sunshine and Green Juice act, chatting about power grids and how we really need a generator. She didn't know she just walked through a doorway that couldn't be closed. I started rehearsing interviews in my head. Started imagining headlines. Retired husband invents tool that changes industry, while his wife plots behind his back. She thought she could bury me, but I was already writing the last page, and I was going to sign it in front of the whole world. The Monday after the blackout, Rebecca left the house wearing pearls. Not earrings, a necklace. Classy, understated, expensive. The same one I gave her on our 15th anniversary. She hadn't worn it in years. Said it felt dated. Now suddenly it was wrapped tight around her throat like a silent victory flag. I stood at the window and watched her adjust it in the car mirror before she drove off. Her text from that morning had been short. Meeting with the planner today. Might be back late. Don't wait up, Red Heart. I knew what planner meant. I also knew she was about to step into the trap I'd been weaving for weeks. While she drove off to Tyler's, because let's not pretend she was actually planning anything that didn't involve a mattress, I opened my laptop and went to work. Finalized the product pitch deck for the investors' media team. Cleaned up the public-facing documents. Updated the project name. Something sleek, masculine, memorable, Iron Vice. My old wrench had finally grown up. Then I did something I'd been holding off on for too long. I scheduled a meeting with my lawyer. He was surprised to hear from me. I hadn't needed legal help since that trademark dispute 10 years ago. But when I walked into his office and laid everything out, timeline, emails, audio recordings, the GPS logs, the burner phone records. His face changed. "You've got enough here to gutter, John," he said, low and slow. "And if you're right about the house paperwork, we can freeze it before she even gets the idea to file." I told him I didn't want a war. Not a loud one. I wanted precision. I wanted control. "I don't want her to know what's coming until she's signing the damage report," I said. "Can you do that?" He looked me dead in the eye and said, "With pleasure." When I got home that evening, she still wasn't back. I sat in the living room with the TV on mute. She cried. Big, wet, gasping sobs like she was auditioning for a daytime drama. The invitation landed in our mailbox on a Thursday afternoon. Heavy paper, embossed seal, gold leaf along the edges. Rebecca opened it with a knife, smiling before she even read it. "Oh, look at this," she said, her voice sugary. "You got invited to some product launch dinner downtown. Must be from your old work friends." She glanced up at me. "You going?" I dried my hands on a dish towel and shrugged. "Yeah, I think I will." She turned the card in her fingers. "Can I come?" I met her eyes. Held them. "Of course," I said. "Wouldn't be the same without you." She smiled. Kissed my cheek. Not a real kiss, just lip contact and performance. That dinner wasn't from old work friends. It was my dinner. Iron Vice private unveiling. And Rebecca? She had no idea she was walking straight into her own funeral. The event was held at a converted warehouse in the Arts District. Clean, industrial lines. Lighting like a stage show. Just enough class to whisper money without screaming it. I wore a tailored navy jacket. She wore black silk. The perfect couple. We parked out front, stepped onto the carpet like royalty. Inside, the room was electric. Dozens of suits, cameras, investors, murmurs of valuation and patent wars. Rebecca stayed close, linking her arm with mine like she was back in control. She kept asking, "So what exactly is this event again?" And I just smiled. "You'll see." The first time she realized something was off was when the photographer stopped us by the display table. "You must be Mr. Hamilton," the guy said, eyes bright. "You invented this, right?" I nodded. Rebecca tilted her head. "Invented what?" He pointed at the stand behind us. A massive steel and glass case with a rotating platform inside. My tool. Polished. Branded. Glowing under a spotlight. The Iron Vice. Her face cracked for a split second. Just a flicker. But I caught it. That twitch in her left cheek. The quick breath. "You built that," she said, her voice a half laugh, half question. "Over the last 4 years," I said calmly. "Late nights. While you were asleep. Or out." The last word lingered in the air like perfume and accusation. Before she could respond, the host took the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us to celebrate the man behind the next leap in home hardware innovation, Mr. John Hamilton." Applause erupted. A spotlight hit me square in the face. My name rolled across a huge screen behind us in bold serif font. Rebecca's hand slid off my arm like melting ice. I stepped onto the small stage, smiled for the cameras, and took the mic. I didn't give a tech speech. I gave a story. I told them about the choking incident, about being pushed into early retirement, about being laughed at for building a toy. I didn't mention names, but I described the betrayal with enough detail for her skin to crawl under her dress. I described loneliness, doubt, shame. And then I told them what Iron Vice was, a product born from failure, from being underestimated, from being told I was finished. That's when the crowd really leaned in. When I stepped down, 3 journalists approached me with mics. When asked, "Was that based on true events?" I glanced at Rebecca. She was pale, stone still, holding a champagne glass she hadn't sipped from. "Every word," I said. That night, back in the car, she was silent. Didn't speak. Didn't even fake a smile. I drove. Let the tension fill the cabin like smoke. When we pulled into the driveway, I finally turned to her. "You didn't think I had it in me, did you?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. "No," she said, voice barely a whisper. "Good. Let that realization burn. Let it spread." Because her moment of reckoning hadn't even started yet. The next morning, she was gone. No note. No text. Just a cleared-out closet, missing suitcase, and the familiar silence of someone too cowardly to face what they'd set in motion. I stood in the bedroom doorway, staring at the empty space where her shoes used to line up like soldiers. Only one pair remained, those red pumps she wore the night we celebrated my promotion 7 years ago. She hadn't touched them since. How poetic. She didn't just leave the house. She fled. But that was expected. I didn't chase her. Didn't call. Didn't need to. Because by then, the machine was already moving without her. The press was ablaze, bloggers, lifestyle magazines, home improvement forums, even an early morning segment on local TV. Retired husband reinvents himself with tool that stuns industry. Headlines. Hashtags. DMs from people I hadn't spoken to in decades. Everyone wanted a piece of Iron Vice. And Rebecca? She was becoming a ghost. But she wasn't quite done yet. Late that afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. Silence on the other end, but I could feel her. The weight of her breathing. The way she held air in her throat like it owed her something. "Why did you do this to me?" she finally said. I leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the sun crawl across the hardwood. "I didn't do anything to you," I said. "You did this to us. I just wrote the ending." A pause. "I lost everything, John." The way she said it, like she was the victim. Like she hadn't spent months plotting to bleed me dry and sneak away with the spoils. "You didn't lose everything," I said, calm as ice. "You still have your pearls." Another pause. It hit the news like a slow explosion. Not a scandal, not a front-page frenzy, at least not at first. Just a modest op-ed in a mid-tier publication, written by a journalist who'd attended the Iron Vice launch. She contacted me after the event, said my story lingered, said it felt unfinished. I hadn't told her everything, just enough to sharpen the silhouette of betrayal, enough to stir curiosity. Then, 2 weeks later, she published the follow-up. The Quiet Architect of Ruin, how one man built a legacy in the shadow of his wife's affair. Names weren't used, but the details were unmistakable. A husband forced into early retirement by a wife who told him it was for his health. A garage project mocked as a joke. Secret recordings. A carefully orchestrated launch. An ex-lover named only as T, who fled the spotlight just as the inventor's story went public. Social media lit up. Reddit threads, Twitter memes, comment sections packed with middle-aged men dropping clapping emojis and writing things like "king behavior," "this is how you do it," and "god-tier revenge." The kind of reaction that stings, not because it's cruel, but because it's loud. Louder than she ever expected. The best part? Rebecca hadn't seen it coming. She thought the worst was behind her. That disappearing would buy her safety. That the story would fade and people would move on. But the internet doesn't move on. It loops. Echoes. Amplifies. Within 48 hours, her name was being floated on anonymous message boards. Someone found her old yoga blog. Her business Instagram. A post from last year where she referred to me as her rock. That comment section turned into a war zone. The next day, my lawyer received a cease and desist letter from her lawyer. It was weak. No claim of slander. Just emotional distress. We didn't even respond. Let her flail. I didn't say a word. I just watched. Watched as she reactivated her social accounts to post vague statements about being misrepresented and forgiveness. And not everything you read is the truth. Watch the comments eat her alive. Watch Tyler deactivate completely, gone like vapor. No more shirtless selfies. No more brunch plates and wine glasses with cropped faces in the corners. I hadn't just burned the bridge. I'd salted the earth. But I still wasn't done. Because in the final round, you don't just destroy their present, you reclaim the past. I made a call to the press team my investor had set up. Told them I wanted a new campaign. A real one. Not just about tools, or the comeback, or some poetic underdog story. I wanted the truth. Documented. Branded. Retold the right way. We booked interviews. A streaming docuseries. Syndicated columns. I gave them everything. The fake wellness retreat. The GPS evidence. The financial manipulation. The emotional erosion. But not with bitterness, not with fury. With clarity. With focus. With the voice of a man who had already won. Because I wasn't trying to humiliate her anymore. I wanted to outlast her. By the time Rebecca's name appeared in an anonymous legal bulletin citing irreconcilable fraud during marriage, she was already halfway invisible. Friends stopped answering her calls. Her former coworkers politely unfollowed. Lindsay, the one friend she always leaned on, commented on one of my posts. Proud of you, John. Should have happened years ago. And then, the email arrived. From her. Subject line, can we talk? No body text. Just that. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because silence was the only reply that meant something anymore. And she knew it. The final strike was already humming in the background, gathering momentum, gathering light. And when it landed, she would never forget who turned the switch. The final blow wasn't loud. It didn't come with fireworks or courtrooms or screaming matches in parking lots. It came on a calm, clear morning, with birds outside and coffee brewing in the kitchen. The kind of morning where, if you didn't know better, you'd think life had always been this peaceful. That was the day the press release went live. Iron Vice Technologies announces $10 million deal with major retail partner. Founder's comeback story to be adapted into national campaign. $10 million. Secured. Finalized. Announced. And timed perfectly to go live at 9 a.m., the exact hour Rebecca used to schedule her wellness calls. I knew she'd see it. I wanted her to see it before she finished her first sip of overpriced pressed juice. The press release hit every platform. The interview I gave that same morning aired on 3 stations, each one framed in soft blues and warm lighting, me in a collared shirt, sleeves rolled up, smiling modestly as I told the story not of a victim, but of a builder. A husband discarded, underestimated, and quietly, methodically reborn. I didn't name her once. That was the final cruelty. She wasn't even worth mentioning. Tyler? Gone. Her reputation? Fractured and fading. But her rage? Still very much alive. At 11:43 a.m., my phone lit up. Unknown number. Voicemail. Her voice. You think you're the hero now? She hissed into the receiver. You think you're some kind of martyr? You lied too, John. You set me up. You made me trust you again. And now you get your little empire. And I'm what? A footnote? No. I won't just vanish. You don't get to write the ending alone. Click. But she was wrong. I already had. By noon, my inbox was overflowing with media requests. Book offers. A talk at a major university. Some psychologist wanted to interview me for a study on post-betrayal male resilience. Men were quoting me online. One guy even got the Iron Vice logo tattooed on his forearm with the caption, "Never again." I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt still, solid, like stone warmed by the sun. That evening, I poured myself a glass of the expensive scotch I used to save for anniversaries. Sat on the back porch. No phone. No noise. Just me, watching the horizon bleed orange behind the trees. That's when the final email came. From the manufacturer. Just one line. Power outage on Tyler's street again. Storm hit hard. We're still good to sign tomorrow. I smiled. Signed the contract digitally, right there on the porch. The same moment his lights blinked out again. Poetic? Maybe. Petty? A little. But fair? Absolutely. Because here's the truth. I didn't just survive betrayal. I turned it into an empire. Rebecca thought she'd force me into early retirement. But all she did was set me free. And in that freedom, I found everything she thought I'd never have again. Power. Peace. Purpose. And the one thing no one can fake. Victory.